If you've been feeling stuck lately, this video will give you so many fun ideas for your next project. I have a big stack of layouts to share with you today, and I want to start off with some of my favorite things to scrapbook, and those are vacation pictures, travel photos, and let's just jump right into it. This first one is a layout that I taught in the Creative Design Team membership. And we have a mix of product on here. The background paper is from Close to My Heart. And then a lot of the patterns in here are also Creative Memories, Passport to Adventure, as well as some of the embellishments. I love the design of this page because I have lots of little photos that help tell the story. This was our Creative Design Team trip to Vancouver, and this is the day we went over on the ferry to the island. Super early morning and a very fun part of the trip, and I knew I had this large photo that I absolutely loved and wanted to make a focal point on the page whenever I scrapbooked this. And I love how I was able to balance that out with my large title over here, the party alphabet dies from Stampin' Up, and then this is a Close to My Heart die. I've worked in a lot of die cuts. We got our tags over here. I have a little postage frame. This is a die as well with the little piercing detail and a few little bits here just tucked in to give it extra texture and interest. My journaling is printed out on the computer. I use the Avery matte label paper here as well as here to fit all of the story in. And this is an older die from Close to My Heart. Really dug into my stash for this one because I had an idea in my head of what I wanted to do. And sometimes you just need to dig through your stash to find the right pieces. I kept my embellishing pretty minimal, didn't go overboard because I wanted the photos, the story, my big bold title to really take center stage, and I didn't want it to get too overwhelming. If you have a lot of little snapshots from an event or a trip or something, I think this is a really fun design to fit it all on your page. This next one I have a video on my channel for. I mixed 4 different paper collections on here and had a lot of fun layering up with the Stampin' Up! Happy Hibiscus. We got stamping and die cutting. Even the title is stamped. This is a stamp from my stash. And this one is all about our time in the pool in Hawaii on our vacation. That was really where we spent almost the entire week, was in the pool. I got some of my story here on this tag and lots of pattern paper layers going on in here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 different patterns happening, but they do all work together and help those photos to stand out. In the video, I go through the whole process of choosing the papers, and let me tell you, it was really a process. Next up, we have kind of a beachy sort of layout. And this one was using the Radiant Reminders kit from Stampin' Up, which is actually a home decor kit. And that's where I got all these little pieces of pattern paper from, as well as these really good sized die cuts. They're actually the perfect size for scrapbooking. And I love how they have different finishes on them. Some of them have foiling, some of them are just like plain cardstock. And there's also some vellum pieces in there as well. I didn't use the whole kit on here, so I do still have some leaves that I could use on another layout. And then I brought in some texture. I feel like textured paper is the perfect complement to a beachy kind of layout. This is from our recent Grand Cayman trip, and we were having dinner out on the beach. And I feel like this texture is just such a good paper that will go with all sorts of tropical or beachy layouts. It's from the Delicate Dreams collection, which you wouldn't think of when you're thinking tropical, but sometimes you need to just look at the paper through a slightly different lens in order to find the right thing for your page. I did add a little bit of gold foil paper because I had gold foil on a couple of my leaves and I really wanted to bring that in a bit more and help that pop. And then I used my Cricut to do a print then cut title here at the bottom. I made it flat and just white on white because I wanted it to sort of fade into the page, make it look like it was printed right on there as close as I could get it. So it is glued flat on there. And it's a pretty simple design. If you want to see how this all came together, I will link all the videos down below in the description box. You just have to click on the little button that says more, and that will take you to where all the supplies and videos are linked. Here is one more beach layout. This one is a fun one because again, a design with lots of photos running across the top and the bottom. I kind of got stuck on that design concept for a little bit there and was really enjoying just like stretching my photos along the top and the bottom. This one I have a mix of 4x3s and 3x3s, and I just kind of alternated. You see here I have the 4x3s at the end, here I have them in the middle, just to add some variety so they're not exactly the same. The paper in here is from the Beach Boardwalk collection from Stampin' Up. We have the shell collecting stamps, which are unfortunately now retired, and then notes and totes. That's where I got this little fence die and my little bag and sunglasses and all the fun things that are in here. I'll bring that up close for you so you can see all the details. I do have a video of this on my channel, so if you're wondering about anything that I used or how I put this together, it's all on there. Again, with the Avery matte label paper for my journaling. I had a nice open spot of like pretty calm pattern paper, so it worked perfectly. I could have also just drawn some lines and put my journaling in that way. And then I just did some ripping along the bottom to create kind of like a sand look, and basically constraining my scene building, if you will, to the center of my layout, and then just filling the rest with photos. I kept it super simple with just some little wordy bits there from the collection. And behind my title, which is cut again with that party alphabet die from Stampin' Up!, I did it in a shimmery yellow color. I had some yellow shimmer specialty paper from Stampin' Up! And I just offset it slightly from my pattern paper letters, and it just gives it this really nice glow. Not as bold as like a foil paper, but you're still getting that bright kind of glowy feeling from it. And a great thing to do with this alphabet, if you don't have enough room for the word that you want to spell, is to really squish them together a little bit. I could have squished them even closer together, but this is how much space I had to work with. But you can really overlap them because the letters are so thick, and you'll still be able to read it. I finished off with some retired pearls here. I have one pack of these left, and I am hoarding them because I love how they look on kind of beach or water themed layouts. I think it's so fun to build scenes on your pages like this. I think this one adds to the layout while still helping to keep the focus on the photos and not distracting too much from those. The next few layouts, we're going to switch things up a little bit. These are all from the Love Story scrapbooking kit from Stampin' Up! And as you can see, they have the pinks and the reds, and they can definitely lean like Valentine's. But I did not go with Valentine's themed photos for all my layouts. I did some bath time photos that worked. We have a pink towel. Everything else in the photos is quite color neutral. It was pretty easy to make my photos work with this paper. My sweet little one, all these die cuts and stickers are from the kit. I didn't add any extra embellishments, as well as the journaling block here. And I did switch this up from the original design. These two layers here are not included in the kit. You're building right on top of this floral paper, but that's just not usually my preference. I love having some white cardstock or some plain colored cardstock in there to kind of break up all the pattern. And I feel like that frame really helps to pull your eye into the layout. When I create these workshop kits with my customers on Zoom, I do often switch things up a little bit, but not a lot. I try and cut the pieces the same as the guide, so everybody's working with the same cut pieces. And then I add or rearrange or flip over to just add my own twist and make it work better for my photos. So this one, with all my heart, are pictures of my little puppy Frankie. Well, he's not a puppy anymore. He's actually 8. But sometimes he behaves like a puppy, and he's so teeny tiny. He's only 7 pounds. So really, he still feels like a puppy because he's tiny. He loves to come in and wake me up on a Saturday morning. That is my morning to sleep in. And he loves to run up his little ramp, jump into bed, and just lick me up one side and down the other. And then once he's done his licking, he curls up in bed and goes back to sleep for as long as I will stay in bed with him. He's such a cute little snuggler. And I believe this one I kept fairly close to what the inspiration layout was. I didn't change up too much. I do like how those kits can help you pull together pages so quickly. Now this one I did stick with the Valentine's theme. We had gone out a couple years ago, went out for like a Valentine's lunch all together, the three of us. And I'm just that kind of mom. I like to do special things. So I'd made pancakes for breakfast. She'd gotten some little like treats and goodies, a little tablecloth to color on. I think originally this page was only supposed to have like one photo in the heart with like a big title. I decided to switch it up a little bit and do small photos so I could fit in all the little snapshots that I had taken from the day. And then I went ahead and matted them all with this soft pink just to add some division between them. I didn't want to draw attention to the mats really, so I didn't use a dark color, but I wanted that separation so that your eye could read those all as separate photos and it just didn't look like one big mess on the page. It is a little on the busier side because we have a fairly busy pattern down here that is a big chunk of the page. But I think this side helps to kind of balance the busyness over here. We have more of the die cuts and stickers that were part of this page. And then I did add some more photos. I think I added one extra photo. And originally the design had the photos kind of offset. And I turned them into more of a grid because sometimes what makes things feel busier is really how you arrange things. So here, because these are overlapping and there's different colors and things going on, it feels busier. When you bring things into a grid and you have those nice linear lines, it calms things down. And I thought that would be a good balance for that page. I had debated doing some stitching in this heart. You guys know I love stitching, but I decided, you know what, this time I'm just gonna put it together because sometimes you need a fast and easy win. From the leftovers from that kit, I actually used it to make another layout. This one, there is a video on my channel. I never have the layouts that I make from the scrapbook workshops with my customers. I don't have those as videos publicly. They are in my private Facebook group, but this one is on my channel for you guys. And basically, these hearts help me use up a lot of the bits and pieces of pattern paper I had left over. These pieces here, I just took one sheet, cut it in half, and balanced that out on each page. And then I did bring in black on here because she's wearing black pants. Frankie's in there and he's got quite a bit of black on him. And I felt like it needed the deepness of that to really add some distinction. I'm a big fan of double matting your photos, having, you know, like the white right next and then the dark next to it. Those high contrast mats really work well. And then just to bring in a little bit more black and a little bit of an artsy feel, I used a splatter stamp with some black ink. And you can see how some are darker, some are lighter. And usually what I do is I stamp and then I just keep stamping a couple more times and you get some lighter splatter images and they just kind of fade off. So I usually put the darker color next to or even under a little bit my embellishment. And then as it comes out, it fades off. So we got room for journaling. That's always important to me on my pages. I don't want to have pages that don't have journaling on them. So it is a priority to make sure that I leave space or plan that into my original design. This is actually a sketch that I used for my team. I do a monthly sketch challenge in my team group for people who have signed up as Stampin' Up! Demonstrators under me. And sometimes I like to play along. I'm not winning a prize, of course, but I like to play along and use the sketch as well. This one here for the title, I believe this was originally connected. I think this was one piece somehow, or maybe this was connected to something else. I just remember I had to trim it and kind of round out the edges to make it work. I didn't have a long enough spot where I could put the whole title. So my solution was to split that up into two pieces. I didn't actually bring any bling into here. I used some of these smaller hearts, kind of like how I would scatter bling around the edges of my embellishment clusters. But I had plenty of die cuts and stickers still left, and so this layout actually came together pretty easily. Next up, I have a dance layout. This is using the Splashes of Sparkles paper, and we have some nice gold embellishments on here from the Swirl Designs. And then the photo strip and the little camera are from the Captured Memories bundle from Stampin' Up! As well. I have my print and cut title which has that nice gold foil offset on it, so it matches all the gold. We got gold specks in the paper. We have gold stars all over the place. And then I added this little bit of black because I had a lot of black in the photos on this side, and I felt like I needed some more black over here. I have my title. I felt like I needed more black on this side to try and balance things out. Now, the overall goal for this page was to add a ton of photos and make it interactive. So under this mat here, we have the story, and then we have more photos. So we have the like after the show photos, just snapping a bunch of photos. And then we'll just tuck that right on back there. And then up here, I did another insert with more photos. This one I actually did a little bit of stamping on. There was so many cute photos from this dance recital. She was in 2 different classes, so we got 2 different costumes and just a whole lot of photos. So this was really fun to make. Kind of one of those bigger projects that I had been avoiding, and so it was good to get those scrapbooked. There were a few more photos that I decided not to put on that layout. This was the after party. The ice cream date later, which also came with a nice little dance show in Dairy Queen. This design is actually from my friend Julie Carrier's workshop. She has a 6-page workshop where she uses the splashes of sparkles paper. And so I took that, I modified it just a little bit because I didn't have all the exact same supplies as her, but the design is almost the same as hers. I'm just missing my journaling here. This layout's been sitting out on my table waiting for me to add journaling so it can be filed away. So that is the last step to do here. But I love how Julie used these little squares to have little photos kind of be framed out with those squares. It's a really fun paper pack. If you enjoy bright, vibrant colors, I couldn't believe how well this paper matched her costumes, and actually both her costumes, because the other one was pink and green, and it just worked out absolutely perfectly. This one over here is supposed to be another small square, but we had a group photo and there was no way I could chop that down into a square, and there was no other good place for this to go. So I ended up putting in a 4x3 down here. Sometimes you just gotta rearrange things and just make it work for what you've got. I have another set of 3 double-page layouts. This one is from the Currently Loving Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. This is a great one for everyday life. So I have a real assortment of different photos that I'm scrapbooking on these pages, but they are such nice universal colors and really easy to use. So like with any of the scrapbook kits, we have specialty die cuts, specialty papers, as well as the sticker sheet in here. So lots of embellishment opportunities. This one was supposed to have way less photos, but I just cannot resist the urge to fit as many photos as possible. This was a day with Auntie Michelle and my daughter. They went to Bower Ponds and they went to see the geese. And this was one of the days where she was like, can you send her in a dress that's either this color or this color? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get some awesome pictures from this little play date, and I definitely did. I love how these turned out. And then I just kind of kept most of my embellishment over these 2 circles. I still wanted to have some embellishment on here and not just, you know, a grid of circle photos. This is actually like a custom piece in the kit, and the photos are glued to the back of it. So you could always, if you wanted to put this up on foam, you could make like shakers out of them, that kind of thing. I did bring a little bit of embellishment down to this corner, as well as added some gems to this. There was no gems in the kit. I often will go and add those on my own. And then there were these paperboard pieces. The name of them are escaping me right now, but they were a separate item as well. And I brought them in because I thought they would make some really pretty embellishments that would go very nicely with these pages. Love this photo of the 2 of them. It's not often that I only put 1 photo on a page, but with this design, it just worked the best. Okay, I remembered what those pieces were called. They're the Covered in Flowers accents, and they are like a thin chipboard. So they're nice and sturdy. They stand up well on your page, but they're not so thick that they take up a lot of space and create bulk in your albums. Now that I scrapbook so much and have so many layouts, I really look out to keep my layouts fairly thin. you'll see most of my layouts are flat. I will have like one layer of things that are popped up. This here is popped up, that flower's popped up, but in general, I leave a lot of my layouts flat for that reason. But I added more of these beautiful gems here. And then these are all die cuts and stickers from this collection, the circle, everything. And the big switch that I made to this layout was that I took these pieces that were supposed to be on the inside and I switched it around and put them on the outside. That's just a personal preference. I like the weight on the outside of the layouts instead of the center. One is not better than the other, I don't think, but that's just my preference. And I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure I squeezed in an extra photo. That is very common for me to do. But these photos are actually from a trip to Hawaii and just a fun evening out going for dinner. For my trips, when we go to the same location multiple times, I tend to want to put them all in one album. So I'm going to do several Hawaii trips in one Hawaii album. I think the days of me having like one album per trip are kind of over because I'm just running out of space a little bit. Now the third layout that goes in this set has another circle theme to it. These are actually pre-printed pages. So it gives you a very nice canvas to work on top of with all of this being printed and then just layering the pieces over top. This one is supposed to be one 5x7 photo, and instead I made a photo grid and fit in 4 photos because that is the way I roll. And the numbers came on the sticker sheet, and so I numbered each of my photos and then I put that in my journaling, kind of just like a list. I didn't go into detail. This is just a day in our life in 2025. It's actually probably more like a week in the life because not all of these things happened on the same day. But these are very typical things that were happening on a daily basis at this time. I mean, Frankie curled up in bed, that's pretty much a daily thing. I layered in more of those accent pieces here, and I love how this title came together. That's one of my favorite things about the workshop kits is having all your like titling pieces. Usually they make them nice and generic, so they'll go with lots of different things, which makes finding photos just a little bit easier. Next up, we have a mixed media layout. You'll see a little bit of curl to the pages, but once I put this in my album and it's in there with the weight of the other pages pressing on it, it won't be a big deal. It's just from adding paste and water and stuff, you always do end up with a little bit of curl to your pages. This is part of a class for the creative design team again. I was taking these photos as my inspiration for my color palette, so I brought in papers in the yellows and the blues. It's not the exact same blue that she's wearing, but it's close enough and it definitely works. The greenery in here is from the Nature Symphony dies. If you do not have this set, you probably want to get it. I'm sure you've been seeing that leaf everywhere. It's just such a perfect size for scrapbooking, and it kind of like wraps around your photos. It has this nice curve to it. You can cut it apart and make it smaller. I just really like it. I fit in a couple of doilies under here just to add that little bit of delicate feeling to these pages. And then of course we've got lots of water going on here. We got some watercolor, we got some splatter. There's even texture paste down here. So if you can see all that nice texture, I do love a good like mixed media moment. These kind of layouts do usually take a little bit more time because you're layering and you're drying and all those kinds of things, but I really love the end result. I did put in a little bit of bling at the end. I felt like it needed some sparkle in there. This one was such a fun one to make, and I just used a stamp for my title from the Beautifully Celebrated set, and I believe that's where this little sprig came from as well, the Beautifully Celebrated dies. I really do need to do more mixed media because I have so much fun with it when I do. This layout is probably one that most of you haven't seen. This is, again, another class from the creative design team, and I used the Brush with Beauty collection. So the paper is Brush with Beauty, the stamps and dies are Petals of Beauty, and I believe the embellishments on here are the ones that go along with that collection as well. We have some ripped edges and some vellum here, which I also ripped the edge on the vellum to keep that same kind of distressed feel. And then I really went in hard with those florals. I layered them up a lot. We have some ink blending, some layered stamping. I love the stamping in this set because you have the outline, you also have a filler image, or you can like ink blend like I did on this one. Here, I actually used a texture stamp to stamp over top of my leaves to get that texture onto them. And then this leaf is from the same die set, and I cut them out of gold glitter. Love that pop of glitter. These photos are actually just from us hanging out in the studio together. We spend quite a bit of time in here together. My daughter has her own little desk. Frankie's always wandering around in here somewhere, either curled up in his bed or curled up in the chair, and generally just waiting for the next time food is going to be served. That is his main priority in life, besides napping. I created my title on the Cricut, so I have a Cricut cut out of the glitter paper, which is popped up on top of just like a cream cardstock piece that I did print then cut on. So this word together is attached to the cream that goes behind the word create. So this is flat, and then this is popped up, and then I also popped this up. I don't often do 2 layers of dimension, but I love how that just, pops off the page, for lack of a better word, and really looks pretty nestled in here with all of my florals. There's quite a bit going on here. We got pattern papers. We have pattern paper as a background, which I don't do super often. And then all our layered die cuts. So I felt like this needed some more dimension to make it stand off the page and really not fade into everything else that was going on there. I repeated basically the same design. We have that center design with our strips going across, and then with the vellum layered over top again, just adding a little bit of softness, making it feel kind of delicate. And originally, I think I chose this paper collection because of the pops of yellow in it. And then I brought the yellow in even more in these flowers to tie in with her little belle dress. She loves dressing up, and she's definitely our little princess. Those bits of yellow just really help to tie it all together. Even if it's not like the identical yellow, it still works together really well. I think sometimes we get a little too caught up on it must be the exact perfect shade. And in the end, it's close enough and it still comes together beautifully. Our next layout is another baby layout. I am trying to make sure I go back and look for anything that I have not scrapbooked yet from my daughter's baby photos. I knew I really wanted to scrapbook these photos because this was when she was like fairly new. It was within the first month, I think. Her and Frankie were like the same length. They were the same size, and he did not get the memo that, he'd been replaced. So anytime I was holding her, I was feeding her, he was in there. And he was just like, I don't care if there's no room for me to sit. I'm going to make some room, and everyone's going to be happy about it. You can see the attitude in those little eyes right there. But no, he was a good little snuggler. And I just thought it was so funny how they were basically the same size. Of course, that did not last long. This is the same leaf die cut that I was telling you about from the Nature's Symphony set. I do have a YouTube video for this, so if you want to see how this all came together, I did some stitching. I actually jammed my machine during stitching on this, and I unplugged it and haven't looked at it since, so that needs to be dealt with. And then I have my print and cut title, which I just love doing custom titles because you can really, make them say what you want them to say. Sometimes I don't have a clear idea. I'm just like, yeah, whatever kind of title, something generic is fine. But sometimes I get ideas in my head. I'm like, okay, I want this very specific thing. So it was fun that I was able to create that. And then on this side, I was able to print out all my journaling because I had a lot that I wanted to say. And then this down here is a stamp. So we got our printed and our stamping all together, really making it a hybrid project. And the paper on this is from the product of the month. I think it was December product of the month. It was the True Blue Florals, and it worked in perfectly with the blue that I had in this pillow. And I think I was wearing some blue as well. And then she was in that bright pink. So then that I brought in the pink in my embellishments, not in the paper. And that's a really good way if you cannot find paper that works with your photos. Maybe focus on just one of the colors and look for paper that works with that color, and then bring in the other colors in your embellishments, because that was easy enough to do. I used some old Close to My Heart UV coated paper, so it has this nice shine on it, and I embossed it. And then I used the same Brush with Beauty flowers and, you know, did some flowers in a couple different pinks. And yes, there is no lighter pink in here, but it still works because it's tone on tone. It's just a lighter version of that same color. And I think it looks better than just sticking with that one pink that kind of matches her outfit. And by adding that variation, it helps things stand out a little bit more. It doesn't just look like a blob of flowers. The gold hearts that are on here, those are a retired embellishment, I believe. I bought a couple packs of those, so you'll probably still be seeing those for a while. I have another layout where I did a video on YouTube for it. I believe this is using the CDT Sketchbook Volume 5. I don't always remember which layouts are using sketches, but this was one of my designs, so it triggered in my mind that I had used a sketch for this. The paper is actually from the Nature Walk collection, which is all like outdoorsy, hiking kind of feel, but the blues in here just worked perfectly with her coat. And I love that there was a lighter blue, just kind of made everything pop a little bit, because these pictures are pretty neutral. We got gray, black, navy, a little bit of browns in there. So not a lot going on for colors, but this was a really cute story that I wanted to tell. My friend Michelle and her son Noah taught Isabella how to skate, how to stand up. This was her first time on skates, and they were out there for like a couple of hours. So this is definitely a story I want in my album. I brought in some lunar luster paper. This is a really fun specialty paper because it's shiny, but it's not metallic bling. So I think that could work so good for so many different things. And I embossed this with the So Swirly embossing folder. That one is in the last chance section. So if you haven't grabbed that one yet, you might want to. And then I stamped for my title, I stamped right on my photo. So some photo papers will take ink a little bit better than others. I tend to use like semi-gloss photo paper, and it likes to absorb the ink as long as you use something like an archival ink or even a StazOn, something that will stick to a little bit more slick surface. Not all inks are gonna work, so it's definitely worth trying out before you go right into like a finished layout and trying stamping on your photo. I also recommend using a stamp platform if you have one, because sometimes you don't get it all perfectly in one pass, and it's good to be able to re-stamp it without it moving on you. This big snowflake was from the Snowy Delights. That came out last Christmas. And then I had a few other snowflakes. Can't remember if those ones were from the Snowflake Kisses set or if they're from my collection, but we have the lunar luster paper. We got some white glitter paper. If you want to see everything that I use, there is a video for this. We have blue splatter in there. And again, I really kept my embellishments contained to these couple of areas. I have a little tiny bit of embellishment here and, you know, a little bit right here, a little bit right there, but they're very tiny. I kept these kind of like the big points of embellishment, and then the photos as the star of the show. I wanted to be able to use as big of photos as possible, but while still squeezing lots of pictures in. That's definitely my theme. Okay, you want to know something funny about this layout? This is one that I do have a video for on my channel. And this was a Paige Evans stitching file, so you can do it on your Cricut or your Silhouette, and it pierces the holes for you, and then you just go through with embroidery floss and you stitch it. I love hand stitching on my pages. I just don't do it as often as I would like because it is time consuming. So you have to kind of set time aside for that. But the funny thing about this was when I posted the video, there was a few people in the comments who said, "Oh, you are just so smart. You planned that out. Your design looks like bunny ears." And honestly, I hadn't even noticed. So that was totally by chance. I was looking through which stitching files I had. I'm like, "Ooh, I like that one." Did not even trigger in my head that it matched the shape of her bunny ears. But it's one of those happy accidents where you just like look back after and be like, "Oh, aren't I smart?" More like, "Aren't I lucky?" But I have some grass here. This is from a retired Stampin' Up set The name is escaping me, but this is probably one I will always keep in my collection because I love this little grassy arrangement. This one I kind of cut and put in on the two sides, and then I cut some eggs out of the pattern paper. This is the Easter Joy paper, and it does have some little kind of like copper highlights in there. So there are foiling on some of the papers. There is some green foiling as well. So lots of fun Eastery patterns. And then I did a print then cut title on here. And for my little bling that are scattered around here, I've had those on a couple of layouts that I've showed you today. Those are the pearlized faceted circles. And there is a white, a light pink, and a coral color in this pack. And as you can see, I've almost used the whole pack. I love these ones because they are faceted like little disco balls and they catch the light so perfectly. This layout is pretty simple as far as like layers and things go because most of my time was spent doing the stitching. I just use white embroidery floss, put on a movie and like go to town, start stitching just with a basic back stitch. But I was still able to fit in these really cute Easter photos. I can't believe this was like 2 Easters ago already. It's crazy. Next up, we have something that you never see on my channel, which is a sports themed layout. It was funny when I made this layout, I realized that this is like the first sports themed layout that I've ever made in my entire like 26 years of scrapbooking. However long I've been scrapbooking, it's a long time. I started in high school. So it's a lot of years of scrapbooking. This is my first sports page. So I had a lot of fun working with some different kind of products. This is the A Wonderful Match collection from Stampin' Up. It has really nice patterns. There are some that are definitely very soccer focused, but there are some that you could definitely use for other sports. They wouldn't necessarily have to be soccer. And this one, I brought in an old alphabet stamp set from Close to My Heart, like really old, back when they did the really large 8.5 by 11 sets of alphabets. And I'm like, I guess that's why I kept this all those years. It definitely, when things like this happen and I have the perfect stamp that is years and years old, like 15 years old, it just reinforces to me why I don't want to get rid of things because, hey, I had the perfect set for that title. And then in the embellishments here, I used that lunar luster paper again. Like I said, it's a great one. Has a subtle shimmer to it, but it's not overwhelming. And then I just clustered together die cuts from the Match Day Stamp and Die bundle. That's where the stamp is from as well. And then this was actually from the paper collection that I just cut out. And then we have the puffy stars. Those coordinate with this collection as well in white and black. And just more die cuts. The little grass is from that as well. Super cute. I'm so glad that I got this page done. When I saw this collection come out, I was so excited. Now, I have not convinced her to go back and try any more soccer. So I'm going to need to come up with some other things that I can use this paper for. That is still on my to-do list. There is a video for that soccer layout if you want to check it out. Remember, just click the more little word underneath where the title is on this video and it will take you to the description box. Now this layout is a very recent one. You might recognize it. I do have a video on my channel for this. I used the wonderful wood grain, homemade sweetness paper. I used the Help Me Grow dies. I'm so happy with how this turned out. And then I used a border die from my stash. It's a Close to My Heart lace border die. But look at the greenery. I did ink blending on there, and I love how the wood grain on the pots works so well. And I did do some ink blending on here as well as some stamping to make it look like dirt. And I walk you through that in that video. This is a sketch as well. This is from the CDT Volume 6 sketchbook. So we are up to 6 sketchbooks already. Lots of inspiration. When I am feeling like I don't know what to do next, I don't know where to start, maybe I have my photos, maybe I have the paper collection, but I'm like, hey, how am I going to put this all together? I grab a sketchbook. It has just become a go-to for me, and I feel like it takes out such a big step of the process that I don't have to think as hard about anymore. I used more of that matte label paper here. I love this stuff. I'm so thankful to Erin, Crafty Concepts with Erin, for introducing me to it because it works so well. If you watch this video, I had to do some fancy cutting and editing to get this to fit here because I did not put my page together the exact way that I had planned. And so I just had to improvise a little bit. I hope you enjoyed all this inspiration. And if you are ready for more inspiration, I have a whole playlist of layout share videos. So I will link that right here for you. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you again soon with another video.